Yeah, morning. Thanks, Morena. Yes, unfortunately, sport is an expensive sport, and but at this moment in time, I think at the last count we had over 67 South Africans competing internationally, which shows that there are a large number of our people who actually do make it, are able to compete internationally.
Now, just talk to us about the difficulties then. I mean, we've mentioned money. That is essentially the primary factor in making it in this particular industry. But just talk to us about the monies that are involved and the difficulties that are involved when money isn't the actual or only issue.
Yeah, I think to understand motorsport, to really be competitive in international footing, you really have to start at a very young age. So if I think about the young South Africans, and let's talk about the kids between the ages of 10 and 16 that's competing internationally at the moment, parents, first of all, got to make the call to say, well, we're going to homeschool these kids so that we can spend some time in other countries to race and compete. So that's one of the practical difficulties. It's a tremendous amount of traveling that has to take place. But, we do have South African children that's being signed up internationally by international teams before the age of 16, which is a remarkable achievement.
When I look at the likes of Gwanda Mokwena on 4 wheels, Leungo Haurekwe on 2 wheels, the amounts of monies I heard these 2 kids talking about, I'm looking at the likes of 6 million, 7 million rand, just to get yourself into the competition, let alone, to win or anything. That kind of blew my mind. And it said to me that when you're looking at the South African, socioeconomic situation, when you're talking those kinds of monies, you're essentially telling some other talented kids that they really can't compete. So to a child whose parents want to get him into, the motorsporting fraternity, for a child whose parent has taken him to the go-karting circuit for a bit of fun and has noticed that there is a talent, when they're hearing those kinds of figures, your 7, 8 figures, how do you then, as Motorsport South Africa, encourage parents to not let that kind of money deter them from seeing through their kids' talent?
Look, first of all, I think it's fantastic that we have the Kwandas competing internationally. There's a whole host of them. But if we think about motorsport, I mean, this weekend alone, we have got 9 events taking place in South Africa. And not all of them are of the magnitude of millions to participate. We've got oval events taking place in the country. There's rally events. And to be involved in motorsport doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a competitor. You can be one of the marshals, one of the organizers, one of the technical crews to actually assist and participate. So very often I would say to people, especially if you've got financial constraints, go and volunteer and say to a karting team, I will come and help you. I will come and learn. I want to see how you do things, or go to a dirt bike event. And participate. This coming week, we have got the FIM, which is the equivalent for the FIA on 2 wheels, the African Nations Cup in Cape Town taking place. Go and volunteer. Go become a marshal and get involved in the sport. I think if any sport, if you compete right at the pinnacle of maybe the top 5% in the world, then it does become expensive.
That is a very important point that you make, Anton, that not everybody's going to be a Sir Lewis Hamilton or a Brad Binder, but you could be a Toto Wolff or a Christian Horner. You could be one of the engineers, in fact, if you really just, direct your talents probably differently. Now, Anton, I would be amiss if I were not to highlight or at least bring to the fore female talent in motorsport. It is something that we do not talk about, and not even just in South Africa or in Africa, but around the world. It is a problem that we're seeing around the world where we do not highlight the talents that women possess in motorsport. Just talk to us about some of the talent that you've been seeing as Motorsport South Africa.
So Morena, it's a very interesting point that you make in Women's Month, which is August. So if I look at the FIM event that's taking place later this week in Cape Town, We've got 36 South Africans competing, and there's around about 200 entries. But the South African is a female of a motorsport team. The team manager of the South African team is a female. So we again, it's evidence that we've got female competitors that's competing at a very high level, but also team managers that's competing at running the South African team. So at the last count, if I recall correctly, I don't have the numbers readily available, but I think around 8% of all motorsport license holders in South Africa were females. And that is low, but it was some of the highest numbers in comparison to other countries in the world. The other thing to remember, it's the one sport where male and females can compete on exactly the same footing with one another. Once you put that helmet on your head and you've got your overall on, nobody knows what's behind that. Whether you male, female, black, white, Indian, colored, it actually makes absolutely no difference.
Yeah, that is absolutely.